Hello and welcome to this video. I'm going to be using two photographs of my daughter, and the only other thing I have is the Echo Park Just BU sticker collection. So I'm going to be using this with a green pattern paper. It's got a light pattern on it, and also a red plain piece of basil. The red basil I am going to be using as a back frame, so I'm cutting out the center as I might want to use some of this on the project, maybe back some photographs and things like that. So I've done a frame and now I'm layering up the green and then the white. So I'm still trying to think of how I'm going to do this page and exactly what it is I'm going to do. I sort of have a little bit of an idea. So I am just cutting off the edge of the white. Again, I'm cutting it so that it's a frame because I'm sure I will use that later on rather than making cutting off two thick pieces from the bottom and the top, which is what I usually do. But I find that I get lots of excess paper that I can't use, and actually I might want to use this white frame on another layout, maybe do a layout with a white frame and a very patterned background. So that's why I cut that like that. The green I'm just cutting off a few little strips just to make it fit properly and evenly. And then I think about what else I'm going to do, and I've kind of changed my idea, so I've gone and got another piece of white paper, and the intention I'm going to the decision I've made with this page is that I'm actually going to tear or roll some of this paper into like a V shape at the top, and then layer some embellishments from the sticker collection onto this. So I cut off half a triangle, I laid it the other way, measured, and then cut it off. I'm going to get my sewing machine and sew all the way around that white so that I'm sewing the white to the green, which is what I've just done. And then, like I said, I'm going to cut and roll, or sort of rip a little bit and roll this down to make a V sort of shape. It's almost like a pocket with the white having been sewn. So I'm going to put some of the embellishments peeking out to the top, and then my photographs as well. So with this in mind, then I can cut another little bit of this red off here in order to use as my photo mats. If I decide as I'm going along that's what I'm going to do. So again, I'm just cutting that off. And there we have it. So as I know this is exactly what I want to do, I'm going to glue this in place. So I start applying my glue around the edge, which is exactly where I need it to be. And then somehow I've forgotten that I've cut the middle of this paper out, and so I start putting glue in places where all it's going to do is stick it down onto my craft table, which I'm merrily just doing until I go to turn it over and go, oh yeah, right, okay, that was not the right thing to do. So I smush it down and then I have to wipe my table off. So come back when that's all dried so that it doesn't keep sticking to the back to my table. And now I'm just going to think about where I'm putting all my embellishments. And so I can put down some ink and just give the background a little bit more texture. So I want to bring in a little bit more of this green up to the top here, because this space is going to be slightly clear. So I just wanted to add a little bit of colour. Now I've got a pipette and trying to make that a little bit more liquidy and dropping that down. Didn't work perfectly. I only got about 2 or 3 drops, and I just tap to get a little bit of a spray down, clear that up, and I am going to come in with a little bit of the Shimmers green just to give a little bit more accent and a little bit more gloss and a little bit more shimmer. So I'm just putting a tiny bit of that and dabbing that into these other paints here and just spreading it out a little bit just for a little bit of extra sparkle on the page. Now my 2 photographs are roughly going to go there. And then I'm just going to start thinking about what I want to use. I quite like the little planner, but in the end don't use that. So I think, well, I should back my photographs and work out exactly how big my photographs are going to be on this page and exactly where I want them. You can see here I have used one logo photo size and also covered the two people in the photograph as it is a photograph of my daughter and a couple of her friends on the beach. And I don't have permission to use their photographs. So I have covered those, and I am literally just using that other one, logo one, as a template for the size, because my photograph that I'm using is a photograph zoomed in of the girls' faces. So I've laid those where I want them. I quite like this little sticker here which says smile. It's the prettiest thing you have on. And to bring in a bit more of that green, I've just decided to back it into a square. It was quite a nice little shape, but I think it actually looks even better like this. And I thought, okay, we'll use that banner there, and now I guess I can roll this paper up and stick it down, which I hadn't done before. So I'm just going to stick that in place. I just wanted a little bit more of that corner to be folded down backwards so you can see the pattern underneath. This takes a little while to dry. I actually end up leaving it and then coming back to it another day. So I've got my photograph stuck down now, and I'm just working out where everything else is going to go, and I can move that logo around just so that I can put it exactly where I want it. And I am just literally working out bit by bit what I want from this sticker collection, what I want to show, and then I'll be sort of hiding things behind each other. And I decided to cut out the heart and I put it either side of the photograph, but it kind of looks a bit weird. It looks like a little bit like wings. So I do come in and move that later on. But to get the colour in the 3 different places, I've used the diamonds as well. And then to bring that darker colour in as well, I thought would be quite nice behind the photograph and the map. There's where I decided to move that and put it up the top. So we've got the clusters up the top as well. So I'm bringing that element and putting it down there. Some of these are going to be stuck down with various foam pads and things like that to pop them up so that it gives some dimension to the page. And I just continue just to layer up. I decided that I wanted to keep the base of the page. You notice that I haven't put any ink at the bottom. I wanted to leave that little bit of blank space. I'm just organising a little journaling card here and thinking about what sticker I might like to put on the journaling card. So I grabbed the butterfly, which I thought would be quite nice and might be quite nice bended. So you can see it on both sides. It didn't fold very well the first time round, and so I'm putting it back in place, but I'm not entirely happy with that. I do put it in place and then decide to cut it a little bit further down so it sticks in a little bit further. You don't actually see the paper anymore, you just see the butterfly. I'm still not entirely happy with it. I've moved it again and then put it back in again. And I'm going to come in and add a little more of this sticker sheet. I wanted to try to use up as much as possible of this. I've used all of the paper so far in the collection and finished that off, and I really just had this sticker sheet. I'm not really sure why I didn't use very much of it, but this was a nice way of finishing off this part of the collection. I did like these cactuses, although there's nothing cactusy about my pictures, and they were just taken at a beach in England, not in Mexico or anywhere like that. But I did quite like them, and I am trying to use a few more random objects that don't necessarily tie in with the picture in any way, shape or form. But just trying to use those up. And sometimes in order to get the colour in various places on the page, I just cut the odd sticker and put one behind one element and one on another, just to add the colour from one collection to from one cluster to the next. So I've popped a couple of butterflies flying away from that flower. There's a few little leaves, not leaves, flowers that are scattered underneath my photograph just to sort of make it less blocky. I don't really like the sharp corners of all the photographs and everything, so I do cover some of them over, and I try to when I'm adding my various bits of embellishments and things. So I'm pretty much getting to the end, but I liked those pair of glasses and thought actually that would be really nice popped up onto the title here, and I just thought they were absolutely funky, although I'm not using them as stickers because I'm going to be sticking foam pads and sticking them on there, and then using thicker foam pads in order to have them sit flat on onto my paper as well. So I'm going to stick that in place now. So hopefully I won't have anything else that I need to put underneath this cluster. So we get that secured in place. But I quite like the cluster as it is. I think it looks quite nice. The only bit I'm not entirely happy with is the top. So I'm going to come in and try to put in a couple more elements there, but I really want the balloons to be a focal point. Trying to put that in there, but having a struggle because I don't want any of the writing on that little half circle to show. It doesn't look, I wasn't sure whether it looked very good behind the balloon or not, but that's what we went for in the end. So I am sort of covering up that balloon now, which is what I didn't really want to do. And a few little added bits and pieces to sort of float away like I have done with the other elements. I've got the flowers at the bottom sort of floating away from the cluster, and the butterflies at the top sort of flying away from the cluster. I put that hello there, but then I'm not quite sure. I end up going in and changing that. I'm thinking now, should I put the camera above the hello or should I put it over the hello to bring in that a little bit more of that orangey red? I decided to take that away and just put the camera coming through the corner there. And I am happy with where those are, so I've cut the top of the balloon off. So and I'm just thinking actually we might put a little bit of that green down in this bottom cluster because there isn't any of that green in there. Not that you're going to see much of it, but you see just the hint of it, so it kind of adds the colours to both or all three sets of clusters. So I'm pretty happy with the page, but I don't like the tag, and I'm thinking actually I quite like the feathers, so I might add a couple of feathers into the various areas of this these clusters, but I didn't have any feathers other than those on the dream catcher, so I've taken those off. So just turn the dream catcher into a circle really, and now I am just cutting all of those feathers apart in order to just stick that element into the different clusters on the page. Putting my tag back. I'm still not happy about the tag though, so I've decided that we'll get rid of the butterfly and I might use something else. So I end up having to get another tag because I've cut that tag down about 6 times now and made it too small, which is awfully annoying, but you know, I didn't really know what else to do. So I'm going to use these arrows and this heart, but I didn't want to use the whole thing. On the card I wanted it to stick out, so I've put some tissue paper on it and just torn that to give a rustic sort of look to it. And then I'm thinking, okay, because I've done that with the tag, I might have to add that sort of element to the other 3 clusters. So I get a little bit more of the tissue paper and I take the camera off and I add it behind the camera, and I also take that the little written circle that is half stuck on my picture and half in my cluster on the left hand side, and I put a little bit behind that as well, just to sort of tie the three elements of that, having that tissue paper on all three clusters to try to keep them even. And then my cat goes in the top as if she's walking away. I hope you've enjoyed this page and it inspires you to get crafting this week. Okay, have a good one. Bye.